for Dr. J.
So this is going to be fun. It's mostly looking at the ceiling.
Which is bizarre, by the way.
Right.
This is one of the weirdest ceilings of all time.
Mm-hmm. Well, not really. I mean,
I like it. But when they started,
it's pretty cool.
When they started hanging these, I'm like, what are you doing?
No, it's actually pretty cool. And then got the wood floor above us.
Hammer jam. That's odd.
Mm-hmm. So we're inside because it's starting to storm, or it's pretending to storm.
It's spitting.
Trying, yeah.
It'll clear up.
Jason has faith. I don't have much faith right now.
For good reason.
That's why we're going to talk about the corporatization of education.
When did you come up with this idea? About 20 minutes ago?
About 20 minutes ago.
The corporatization of education.
Mm-hmm.
The customer is always right. And who's the customer? The student.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not just that. Right? It's how they handle everything. It's becoming more and more corporatized.
The decisions have become entirely unilateral.
Mm-hmm.
And it's especially true with two-year schools.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're back.
We moved tables. Personally, I like the avant-garde style that table offered, in which you saw the ceiling mostly, and a little bit of us. Given my self-image, body issues, I would much rather not have the camera at all, but somebody's insistent on using a camera.
Yes.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Oh, back to the glasses. Speaking of men's health,
yeah.
How are they working out for you? Have you gotten used to the bifocal? No, I mean, because it's weird. People, when they first try
it is
them,
weird, and yeah, I've gotten used to it, so I'm okay now.
You just have to look down to read and look up
to do everything.
But that's kind of what you do anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we read. We don't look straight ahead to read unless the book is... So I guess you're no longer allowed to read a book this way.
Right. No, I just do this.
Does that work?
Not really.
But now you don't have to hold the thing 30 feet away just to read.
No. Ass.
Got to get a selfie stick for books. Corporatization
of education.
Yes. And it's not just community colleges; it's universities.
Not. It's the universities too. They're all doing this.
See, I was lucky because I started teaching in '02.
Yeah.
And it wasn't there yet.
Right.
The idea of the student as customer is something I didn't hear until I came here.
So you're sticking to that student as customer. That's not my beef. I don't care. I'll deal with that in the fall. I have those little punks telling me, but I deserve an A. No, you don't. No. You deserve a good swift kick in the ass. That's not what I'm... Disgruntled professors. No, I'm more focused on...
The model that they're using.
The model and the treatment of faculty. And how the corporatization of education has... Oh, I've got you uncomfortable. Good. It's payback.
We're not, of course, talking about our employers. This is a general conversation about education. We'll just leave it at that.
We'll pretend, sure. No, this is a cultural problem.
How so?
There was a little cartoon that I saw years ago. Like from, I think it was the New Yorker. But it said teachers in 1968, right? The parents are standing there with the kid in front of the teacher, and the parents are making the kid apologize to the teacher for being bad. Then it said teachers in 2018. Parents are forcing the teacher to apologize to the child.
For the child being bad.
For the child being bad. And it's, you see, just in that comic, you see several different things. This idea that this is an honorable profession has gone out the window.
Yeah, no,
When I hear people tell me that, it's bullshit now.
it used to be true.
It used to be true. It's not anymore.
Even in '02.
And I'm not
It was
saying
true.
that people don't have good intentions when they say that, but the reality of the situation is it is not an honorable profession anymore. They don't care.
The teacher is always wrong.
And a lot of that comes from
Guilty until proven innocent.
No Child Left Behind, and
Common
then Race
Core.
to the Top, and then finally Common Core.
Yep.
And this idea of focusing on the standardized test and getting the test scores up, all that kind of stuff, which we had talked about at length on this. But because of that, what has happened is that the administration has become bloated.
Oh no, this is a conversation that I've had a lot, and
Yeah.
Higher Ed actually did an entire piece on this,
Yeah,
and they're not the only ones who have.
yeah,
They just keep producing administrators like rabbits.
yeah.
It's top heavy.
Well, remember when the Affordable Care Act went into action, there were several institutions that hired a full-time position, $60 a year, to track adjunct hours, to make sure they did not go over, so they'd have to pay insurance.
Well, and one institution that shall remain nameless, actually talked about that.
It wasn't
during-
the only one.
No.
There
I know
were
it's everywhere.
Several, yeah.
But they talked.
Most of the community colleges.
But
did
they
this.
talked about it like it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Like they were just making an announcement. It's
But,
like,
okay, so here's the question though: who schedules the adjuncts? The department chairs. Why aren't the department chairs watching that? I get why they're doing it. Understand it. Why are you hiring
yeah.
an administrator unless you don't trust the faculty?
I think that's the answer.
And I think that's the answer. There is, with the bloating of the administration, there has become a mistrust of the faculty
Yes.
with that.
I
And
would
it's everywhere. It's not just specific institutions. It's everywhere. And the larger the administration gets at these institutions, the deeper the divide between the management and the floor, the workers, right? Because, when you look at the education model in higher ed, administration is the management, right? The faculty are the workers.
We're labor.
We're labor, right? Now we're white collar, but we're labor
Yeah.
in that structure, right?
We're the proles, according to Marx.
Yeah. And so the larger this administration, not this administration, but every administration, and it's at the universities too. In fact, it was at the universities first.
And it spread.
And it's
Because it's how it happens.
because it's
everything
now in
trickles
public
down.
schools.
Yeah.
You're starting to see this in the public schools, in the high schools, in the middle schools, and the elementary schools. We have menial tasks that have added up, and instead of spreading those menial tasks out, we're hiring people to do those menial tasks. Well, give it a couple years, and that position becomes necessary. And now you've got another administrator doing things that the faculty could easily do.
But again, would you trust the faculty to do it? And
If you're
according
an
to administrator, you
administrator, yeah.
can't.
Well, you can.
Why they don't
They
is beyond
choose
me.
not to.
Why they don't is beyond me.
Well, and I think it comes down to, with, you know, and of course, when we talk about the corporatization of education, they're trying to model this as a business. It is not a business. You cannot expect. Okay, so the trends you can get out of education, right? The trends that you can actually capture with data. A lot of that is abstract in nature, right? You're not going to be able to pin it down.
No.
Because you can take one group of kids, and I've made this argument before, you take a group of kids from Nebraska, they're going to learn completely differently from a group of kids from Brooklyn.
Yes.
Not because they're smarter or dumber,
No.
but because of the environment they grew up
Yes.
in. They have seen a completely different world, so you have to teach them differently in a language that they understand. Same thing with the kids from Brooklyn. They've seen a completely different world. So you can't standardize this.
No. And that's what No Child Left Behind tried to do.
And Common Core tried to fix, and it's become a larger problem. It hasn't gotten better. It's gotten worse. You and I know this because we see it in our classrooms every day. I was thinking about it this morning, about one of the committees we're on, and thought about an argument that I could have made and should have made, but didn't. The 112 I'm teaching now is not the 112 I taught 10 years ago, and it's not because new things have happened in composition. It's because I've had to dumb it down over
Yes.
the past 10 years.
Yes.
Why am I reviewing the structure of the paragraph in the final comp that they're going to take? That's 7th grade.
When I started teaching at Ole Miss, it was called 101.
Yeah.
It was 111.
Yeah.
I never, ever talked about thesis statements or paragraphing or evidence or how to write a conclusion, because when they got to me,
They know it.
they knew. They hadn't. I mean, they were not affected by No Child Left Behind. That was signed into law not long after I started teaching. And then I got to Coastal, and suddenly I'm having to teach things I never had to teach before. And now teaching thesis statements and body paragraphs is just a regular part of what I do.
Yeah.
And it should not be a part of what I do.
No. In fact, we shouldn't even be doing that in 111 or
That's my
100.
point. Yeah, no, it should never appear in 111.
It shouldn't appear in college, period.
No.
It should be a known thing. How are they getting out of high school if they can't write a thesis statement? Or identify one?
Because it's all been dumbed down all the way to the high school level.
Yeah.
Well, actually middle school too.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of, okay, so going back to paragraph structure, that's 6th, 7th grade. Right?
It's supposed to be.
Structure of the essay starts in 8th and 9th grade. Theoretically, you should be getting minimal research in 11th and 12th grade. Minimal. Here's the source. Here's how to integrate it.
And then we pick up from there.
And then we pick up from there and give them more advanced stuff. Okay, this is how you actually write for the academy. This is how you present an argument. This is how you break down an argument.
My job is a lot harder than it used to be.
Yeah.
It gets harder every year.
Each group.
I mean,
I remember when the No Child Left Behind kids came through, when they first hit, because I told you about this, and you probably remember this too, being at Coastal. It was like a light switch.
it happened just like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
You had kids the year before that they weren't the best writers in the world. I mean, we weren't talking about Hemingway, but
No. They were proficient.
they understood. Yeah, they were proficient and they understood the structure of the essay at the basic level. Then the No Child Left Behind kids came in. They couldn't write their way out of the bag.
No.
They didn't understand sentence structure. Punctuation went out the window. My complaint for years has been, it's not that y'all are misusing the commas, you're not using them at all.
Yeah. Well, so it's
It's true.
I'm a copywriter, so I'm loving all of this. I went to school for journalism.
Yeah.
Oh,
Where'd
yeah.
you go?
Carolina.
Carolina?
Me too.
Yeah?
Yeah, English.
Gotcha.
Appalachian.
Nice. Very
Yeah, I'm the bum of the crowd.
nice. Where do you guys teach now?
Guilford Tech.
Okay.
So,
I went to Fayetteville Tech for my first 2 years.
yeah, cool.
Yeah, I loved it. But from everything I've heard from GTCC students, you guys are doing much better than we were.
Well, that actually makes us feel good because
Yeah. Like, I feel like even the variety of classes offered at GTCC are better than
yeah.
Tech. But
Wow.
Well, cool.
I love, yeah. I was a part of the C-STEP program that transferred us. Out to
Yeah.
Carolina. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got, yeah, actually one of our really good friends is in charge of that at Guilford Tech.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Whenever I was in, I don't think that C-STEP was at GTCC.
No, it's, what, 3 years now?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so,
awesome.
yeah.
Good to know.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, she just got it started about 3 years ago. So,
Yeah, it was super helpful. I had a lot of I mean, I get along with most people, and I really didn't get along with my advisor, but
Right.
I still, like, my advisor for C-STEP, but still, like, I had no issues transferring at all, and so that's a lot thanks to her, even though I
Right.
didn't like her in particular as a person, but
yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
Cool.
yeah, love it.
Awesome.
Back to work.
So we actually don't suck. That's good to know.
Yeah, that's good to know. What were we talking about?
It's
Commerce.
not. But
Yeah.
It's not just corporatization. That's a part
Right.
of it. It's also bureaucratization.
Yeah. Well, I would lump that in.
I mean, it's ultimately the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a growing, or I think the word bloated is best. A bloated administration creating new jobs and new protocols that ultimately don't benefit anybody except administration.
Yeah.
It's just they're just creating more paper to shuffle and move from one pile to another to another to another.
Well, what's the joke in the English discipline, right? We create reasons why we are important.
Yeah.
The joke I always tell my students, I'm like, we're so good at what we do, we con the entire academy into believing you don't need one but 2 compositions. And a lit.
And a lit. And a lit.
Show me. The closest thing I can think of is social sciences, where they con them into believing that they had to have psychology and sociology.
Yep. The reason I talk about the customer, the student as customer, is because when that happens, the administration no longer sought to protect the instructor, or the faculty. They ultimately turned their back on the faculty.
Yeah.
And I see it now.
Well, it goes back to that comic, right?
Yeah. When it was an honorable profession, administrators had faculty's back.
Yeah.
And when I started,
in the administration were former faculty.
That's right. And the former faculty who were from that institution. That's the other problem.
Right.
This go-to-grow mentality means that we're hiring people into administrative positions who have no loyalty to the school.
Mm-hmm. Well, that and the constant pushing towards the DED, right? The ED.
The dead degree.
Well, it's the administrative doctorate, the ED, right?
And for what?
Right.
And that curriculum, I'm going to get in trouble with people. I just know it.
It's an administrative curriculum.
That curriculum.
And there's nothing wrong with that. When you look at superintendents, you want that.
Right, but
when you look at chancellors, you want that.
But what's happened is that because it's required now, it too has been watered down.
Yeah.
Now it's like universities have created a factory for DEDs.
You can get one from Phoenix.
Or EDDs.
Yeah, EDDs. You can get one from Phoenix.
Yeah. It doesn't mean what it used to mean.
I know of people who have done them in summer, like 2 summers, done the classes over the summer, knocked it out, wrote a thesis, and be done.
How do you get a doctorate in two summers?
Well, when it's the EED, there's a program through state that's like that. It's 2 years. It's 2.5 years.
They're just churning out
They're
administrators.
just cranking them out. And the way they get around the hours, they count your masters. So you're coming in with loaded hours.
But I distinctly remember my last job, all the administration were professors at Coastal
Right.
with doctorates in other things, like biology and philosophy. One of my friends was chair of the philosophy department and a researcher and became a provost.
Well, look at our current dean,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Actually, if you look at all of our division chairs, deans, division chairs, from the time I got there and then you came in right behind me to now, they all had regular degrees.
Yeah.
In fact, I think there's not been a single one of them that had a PhD. One. Well, no. Did she have a PhD or
No.
did she have an EDD?
EDD, with a concentration in psychology.
Right.
So
But
even
she had an MA in psychology, right? Yeah. But she had taught.
Oh yeah, absolutely. She had. She'd been in the
And
classroom.
our current one teaches 1 class a year.
That's what they all teach now.
Yeah.
1 class a year.
They should do more.
I agree. One class a semester
Yeah.
at least.
At least.
And if you want more,
Yeah.
teach more.
Yeah.
Or teach more if you want more.
And I think the administration should do the same. And
That's-
we actually talked about this before, like the VPs, they should be teaching the class every semester.
Well, a friend of mine who was a dean here, when she moved on to become a VP at another college, had told me, she's like, they're not going to let me teach. And she hated that because she thought that she needed to be in touch with the students.
Yeah, and they should.
That's a rare thing to hear of an administrator.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people become administrators. One of our dear friends
Well, go ahead.
one of our dear friends who's kind of an Eeyore complex had pointed out, he said there's something wrong with the system that promotion gets you away from teaching.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Well, and here's the other thing: the model is going towards the customer-based model with the student, but yet they're distancing themselves further and further away from the students.
Yeah, they're not having any contact,
No.
especially the ones who are on the VP and president level. They're not seeing students. They're not talking to students. They're not interacting with students. They're not teaching students. So they don't understand the student body. What they think because they have metrics in front of them and they have graphs and charts and numbers that they really get it. You have to talk to them.
Yeah.
You know, we know what our students' problems are. We know that we have students who are homeless.
Well, and it's not going to show up in the survey.
No.
You're not going to get that data. Because with each class, each semester, the student body is in flux.
Yeah.
And depending on what's going on in the outside world is going to determine what student body shows up there. Like, for example, we're coming to the end of COVID, and we're going to see a completely different student body than we saw before COVID. Because there are people who lost their jobs permanently, and they're going to be coming back to school.
Yep. And that's going to change the
Now
demographic.
that the unemployment's over, and now that the stimuluses have run out, they're going to be coming back to school.
Yep.
And it's going to change the student body.
Oh, the demographic's going to look entirely different as a
Yeah.
result of it.
Yeah. For a couple of years, and then it's going to switch, and then it's going to start to roll back.
And unfortunately, all the charts and graphs in the world aren't going to measure that until after it's over.
Yeah.
That's the problem with using.
Well, and that's the problem with the initiative that we were talking about on the way up here. How can they know if it's working or not if it's only been 2 years? That's not enough time to collect data. If you're going to collect the data, you can't really put a metric on 2 years on a system-wide initiative. This isn't just a single college or a couple colleges. This is a system-wide initiative. You got to give it time to work.
Every college in the state?
Yeah.
How can you measure it in such a short period of time?
You can't. And that was the argument I had. Well, this was the argument that I made in that meeting back at the beginning of the spring semester when I got in trouble. Which is, you're not even including those numbers. So how do you know?
Yeah, they were not pleased with you. I was very proud, but they were not pleased with you.
Well, one of the others was extremely proud of me and gave me kudos.
And
after
praised
they
you,
left,
yeah.
In front of the entire group, but that's not the point.
The other issue is because it's a corporate model, because it's a customer model, it's also a profit model.
Mm-hmm.
Do you sit here and watch people do this all day? No. It's special to me.
It's a profit model.
Mm-hmm.
So before, universities, colleges, the goal was to keep the doors open and pay the bills and teach.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not good enough.
No.
I mean,
No, I think it's. I don't know. What was the question that we had when we were talking about assessment? What does success look like?
Yes.
Right. The other thing is, how do you measure success once you define what success is? Because isn't that arbitrary and abstract?
Well, more than that, it depends on the major.
Yeah.
It shifts depending on your field.
It's true. Well, look at the GRE. They told me when I went to go take the GRE, don't worry about the math section. They're not even going to look at it.
Right.
What the fuck am I taking? It was part of the GRE. Why are we doing that? Right? There's another thing about the corporatization of education, the standardized tests that you have to take to get into different modes of education. The LSTAT, the GRE, the SAT, the ACT.
The MCAT.
The MCAT. There's a standardized test for every fucking thing. And everything rides on how you do on that standardized test. But there are people out there like myself who have taken the GRE 3 fucking times and improved my score by 4 points.
Yeah.
Because I don't test well.
I don't test well. Give me an essay question.
Yeah.
I'll go to town.
That's fine. But this, especially the verbal section, throwing words at me, synonyms and antonyms, and I'm looking at a list of words. Oh, you have just ruined my life. Because I have a limited vocabulary to begin with, and now you're throwing more words at me, and now I'm getting confused. How's that prove my language skills?
It doesn't prove anything. That's the problem.
Yeah, it proves that I can't deal well when you throw 4 words at me and I'm trying to figure out which ones actually mean the same thing. That's what it proves. But put me in front of a classroom and get me into a lecture and watch me navigate the language thing. Why isn't that the test? If I'm going in to further my education and further my degree or expand on my degree, which I'm going to use that degree to teach children, why aren't you making me do mini teaches? A series of mini teaches on a series of different subjects. And see how I do. See what points I cover. Why isn't that the test?
My
Sure,
17-year-old.
that's what the Greeks did.
Yeah. My 17-year-old told me that the UNC schools this year aren't going to be looking at the standardized tests.
It's about damn time.
They're just not using them.
Yeah. Because it doesn't tell them anything.
No.
It tells them this kid could test well.
I mean, look at their scores and look at their grades, look at their extracurricular activities, look at their recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
And in my case, they interviewed me.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell a lot by interviewing somebody.
Yeah.
And the big schools, the private schools, interview all their applicants.
Right.
The ones they choose to go to the next level. That you want to learn about someone, interview. Talk to the student. Talk to the student.
Mm-hmm.
Not look at a test score. Have a conversation with the student.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, yeah, I think that's one of the more egregious offenses that they've committed in this corporate model. I mean, there are a lot. Okay,
Yeah.
there are a lot of problems in the corporate model.
Well, the inside deals with the book companies.
Oh, okay. Yes.
What I think there's one well, it's not the only one, but there's one specific that we kind of accidentally got roped into, and now we're backing out of it again. Okay, I'll say who it is. Cengage.
Oh, Cengage is horrible.
They're notoriously bad because they not only create the lesson plans, they want to copy your syllabus.
Mm-hmm.
So they can then replicate the syllabus and put their information, their materials into your syllabus.
Oh yeah. They're trying to infect every aspect of academic life.
What ends up happening is that you're teaching the Cengage model or the Cengage view of education.
They create
not
an
your
entire
own.
pedagogy,
Yeah.
not just a book.
Yeah. Entire pedagogy.
To their credit, Norton hasn't done that.
No. Norton gives you resources,
Yeah, they don't
but
make
they
you
don't
use
do
them.
that.
No.
Now they do offer, if you want them to, they can go through your syllabus and they can fine tune the materials that you have. But they don't hand you a course. One of the coolest things they have is the book. They have this for most of their lits, but it's the teaching American Lit with the Norton Anthology. And basically what it is a series of Socratic style questions.
Which are really cool.
They give you rundowns of the material and then the questions, discussion questions that you can use.
Which is pretty cool.
It is very cool. But there's a lot of really cool information in those rundowns, not the questions. And so it's very valuable that way. Stuff that's not in the anthology, right? Pearson, there's another devil.
Oh, they're horrible.
They have tried that. They're still trying it.
I bonded.
And these colleges are buying into it hook, line, and sinker.
Oh, yeah.
Because guess what? They've won the elementary schools and they've won the secondary schools. They haven't won the colleges yet. They're going after them.
I bonded over my first department chair here during the interview, right after the interview, over how much we hated Pearson.
Yeah.
I don't know of anyone in academia who likes Pearson.
Pearson.
Pearson's it. And Cengage.
Some of their stuff is good, but it's the methods.
Yeah, but
They just get, like the Little Brown Book. The Little Brown Book is a great grammar book.
It's not brown, though. That's a problem.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Yeah, it's not brown. It's a misnomer, but
It's white and black.
well, there's a black one. So, that's the one I wanted. So I asked her for one. I got 20. I think that's why she got. Well, never mind. She just disappeared. But the Little Brown Book is a good grammar book. But you can't just get that. There's all kinds of supplemental material they try to force on you. And that's where Pearson loses me. Cengage is the worst, though. Cengage is the fucking devil.
Well, what Cengage is trying to do is make deals with entire colleges, not with departments.
Yeah.
Some years ago, when I was still advisor for Phi Theta Kappa, we went to Catalyst, which is their national event. It's like a jubilee for Boy Scouts, except it's PTK. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
A Cengage rep spoke for half an hour.
At Phi Theta Kappa.
At Phi Theta Kappa. They were one of the sponsors, and PTK allowed it to happen. I had never been so ashamed to be a part of an organization. I'm like, how could you do that?
Yeah.
How could you allow them that kind of time? And what they were selling, what they were advocating, and my, the students who were with me weren't horrified until I explained afterward.
Mm.
They were trying to advocate for package deals, not just for one course, but getting all of your books for all of your classes from Cengage.
Yeah.
That's the model they're looking for.
Yeah.
Is how can we get entire colleges on board so that all of the books that they use come from us.
Mm-hmm.
And they told the students that, well, they knew what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
If they told the students, if you can package all of your courses and use our books, you get a discount.
Mm-hmm.
And the students were like, that sounds great. I'm like, and I had to tell them afterward, this is dangerous.
Yeah.
This is dangerous.
Because it leaves no autonomy.
None whatsoever.
Whatsoever.
No, nope. It's hard enough as it is having everyone in the department using the same book.
Mm-hmm.
Which I got to tell you, it hadn't really happened to me before.
Until now.
I mean, in my last job, I started to see it, and I was kind of shocked by it. Because whenever I was teaching, I just picked whatever book I liked.
Yeah, that used to be the way.
It was called academic freedom. And that's very slowly
And I don't
being
think
eroded.
It is. But I think in our particular case, it has nothing to do with academic freedom or...
No.
It has everything to do with a specific location on campus and their ability to keep staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they moved to that model.
It doesn't
but
work.
it erodes academic freedom and you're not. So what our department did in response to that is it got rid of textbooks. Full autonomy now. You have a grammar book for 111, that's all you need. Do whatever you want with the rest. There's 112, this is the textbook for 112. It's very bare bones. Leaves itself to wide open interpretations for any teaching philosophy.
Or not
they
using it
have.
at all.
Or not use it at all. Right?
I use it in the beginning, and then I just put it down.
Yeah.
I just lay the groundwork with it.
But we go through it, it's so thin. We
It's
go
tiny.
through it in the first 6 weeks.
Yeah, you can read
We're
it
done with
fast.
Yeah.
It's an easy read.
Yeah. I tell them on the very first day, you're going to go home at the end of these 16 weeks and tell your mother you read an entire textbook this semester. First time in your life.
So corporatization in textbooks. Yes.
That is changing teaching philosophies too. It's being forced to change. Right? But coming back to the autonomy, the erosion of autonomy. And it starts with, and here's another one, and this is a product of corporatization, student learning outcomes. The SLOs.
Yeah, okay, so can we talk about that for a minute?
Sure.
That maybe they shouldn't have an acronym like SLOW to refer to learning outcomes?
To refer to students.
I mean, come on. And I mean, that was not lost on me. And one of my colleagues pointed it out when I first got here.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Snarky little bastard. But he was absolutely right. I'm like, oh my God, you're right. That's horrible.
Yeah.
Who came up with this language?
Yeah, student learning outcomes.
Yeah.
And there are...
It's more standardization is what it is.
It is. It's to get the teachers all on one track. Because I remember when I first got there, and we were talking about it, our former boss, said, you just got to meet them. We're not going to tell you how to do it. We're not going to tell you what you have to do for these. Meet them. And that was back when we had the policy that if they missed one,
You failed the class.
they failed the class. And so what that forced us to do was to create buffer assignments that would keep them from failing one of the SLOs if they had a B. Because that could happen. They could have a B.
It did happen, from what I hear.
Quite a bit. They could have a B and fail the class because they missed one of the SLOs.
They got rid of that not long before I came in.
They got rid of the rule. They didn't get rid of the SLOs.
No, but the rule about failing
Yeah.
was gone before I came in.
Yeah.
Because I heard about it. I'm like, I'm going to tell you, dude. After,
Well, and I was one of the ones that created buffer
yeah.
assignments to keep that from happening.
I taught at universities for 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never heard of a student learning outcome. This was new.
Yeah.
When I came into Guilford Tech, I'm like,
Well, there's other.
What is this?
There's other. I'm beginning to. Over the years, I've realized SLO is a North Carolina thing. There are other terms for it. There are other ways to describe it.
yeah, they just chose the wrong term.
They just
Slow.
slow. In North Carolina, our students are slow.
That's so sad.
They have slow. No, like benchmarks. That's another term that you hear a lot, and they're talking about SLOs. What are the benchmarks for this course? In other words, where do they have to be? When they get done, where are they supposed to be? And that's all an SLO is.
Yes.
Is where do they have to be at the end of this?
And they're kind of harmless if you're given the kind of freedom we've been given. Because it's not hard to meet them. They're so general.
Knock on wood. Yeah.
Knock on wood. They're so general that you can really do anything to guarantee that they're met.
Yeah.
As long as you're given freedom.
Yeah.
There was an idea floated, and our former dean told me this. There was an idea, no, I was told by somebody else, and I talked to her about it. She said, don't worry, I shot it down. But there was this idea of, who came up with the idea, creating templates for all the classes on Moodle that all the professors would have to follow. There would be an English 111 template.
This would be the same one who was trying to create a time clock?
Yep. And it got
Okay, so there's the other disconnect.
And both got shot down by the same dean.
Here's the other disconnect between administration and faculty. Faculty don't work 9 to 5. Administration does.
No, but we still work more than 40 hours a week. We just do
do.
it differently.
Here's and this is, we actually got into it. I personally got into it. You remember the young lady who was put in charge of advising, and she was the one that rolled out the new advising model?
That involved us, yes.
Yeah. Okay, you remember her?
Yes.
She and I got into it in one of those meetings. Because she said, she said something along the lines of, when you get to, at 5 o'clock, you can always put up an away message to your advisees. And several of us went, what? And I raised my hand. I said, you may be able to, we can't. And that is the big difference, the night and day difference between the administration and the faculty. The administration can shut down at 5.
We don't.
We don't, and we can't. And trust me, if we tried to,
we'd get
the
killed.
administration would come after us the next morning.
Oh yeah. Absolutely, they would.
Yesterday, I've got all online classes this summer session.
Along with almost everybody else.
Yeah, and I was explaining to my partner. I said, "Okay, so everything's open. Now I sit and wait." I said, "For what?" I said, "For the emails." So no telling when they're going to come. And I got to answer them. Because if I don't, they're going to bitch to the administration, and guess who's going to be sending me bigger emails? So but that's a product of all that too. This disconnect that, they work 9 to 5 jobs. We don't.
No. Our work always comes home with us.
Yeah.
And upper administration, to be fair, their work goes home with them
Their
too.
work, but that's different. You're
It's
talking
not the
about
same.
senior management.
Yeah, it's not the
We're
same.
talking about like the mid-level.
The ones who only work at home or only work at work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they don't understand, well, why are faculty complaining so much?
Because
They could be put on a time clock so we can track them.
Because our work week is different.
You can't track our time.
No.
That's the problem. Okay, we're not on campus from 1 to 3. That doesn't mean we're not working.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a former partner. Actually, a few former partners, I've had to explain to them, just because I'm not on campus doesn't mean I'm not working.
Well, and dude, we've got colleagues who do their best grading at 11 at night.
Yeah.
I mean, who grade from 11 to 1. One of our colleagues likes to teach late in the day because he stays up late at night working.
Yeah.
So he doesn't go to bed till 2 or 3 in the morning.
Right.
Those are his best times.
Yeah.
Let him grade during his best times.
And he's doing it.
And he's working
getting it
50,
done.
60 hours a week.
And guess what? His kids are learning.
Yeah. Well, from what we can tell. Yeah.
Well-
I've taught him and they seem to be good. He's doing a good job.
Yeah.
But
You're talking about fair enough.
no.
No? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's fantastic.
He is.
And they're getting everything they need to get. I've had him to his kids in 112. They know their stuff.
Yeah.
And he's doing his best work late at night. Let him do that.
Right.
9 to 5 or 8 to 5 is not working.
Right.
It would not work for him.
Right.
It doesn't work for any of us. And if we shut down at 5, you're right, they'd lose their mind. When the administration comes at me, I'm going to tell them, well, it was after 5 o'clock, so I didn't answer.
Yeah.
You want to put us on a time clock? After 5, I'm done.
Done.
Sorry. I'll get to it tomorrow.
Yep. Well, and that person was also responsible for us, forcing us to put our schedules on our doors.
Yes.
Not
Yes.
Because I remember the rule when I first got there was you have to have your office hours on the doors, and that's it.
Which is good. You should.
Yeah, you have to have that. That way students know when to come by and
Yes.
when they can't. But then it became schedule. And then it became all time in your work week.
Including 10 flex hours.
Yeah. You had to show how you were working at the institution while you're at home.
We were told by someone who is not an administrator but works over us that we were putting down too many hours and
Yeah.
we needed to pare it back.
Back it off.
Why are we being asked to back it off?
Yeah.
Why not? How about we just tell you when we're working?
Here's the reality.
I'm responding to emails at 10 at night. So what do I put from 8 to 10 p.m.?
Yeah.
I can do that if that's what you'd like.
Yeah.
I'm on call 24 hours a day.
You really want to see the real hours that we're working? We can do that.
Yeah, that's fine. And when you realize that we're outworking a lot of your staff, then we can have a conversation.
Yeah. Pay us for.
Oh, I think, and I think that's, yeah, they only want to see that we're working 40 hours a week.
Yeah. But the problem is that we don't. Show me, on average, now there are some faculty that skirt that, and they find ways around doing that. But on average, across the board, especially in the community college system,
Because we're teaching 5, 6 classes.
we work in excess of 50 on average.
I try not to.
And they don't want to talk about that.
No.
Because the thing is, they would have to, first of all, they'd have to believe us, and they don't trust us anyway, to begin with. Second of all, how are they going to track it? They can't. Unless they literally have us punch a time clock. Then how are you going to know that we're actually telling the truth? Because are you going to be standing over us the entire day?
Well, what they could
Because
do.
we are all over the place.
What they could do and what other colleges have done is force us to be there from 8 to 5.
Yeah.
They could do that.
Yeah.
And that might come.
At night. What do you do with the ones that teach at night? You gonna pay them overtime? Are they gonna have special schedules? What about the teachers who don't start teaching until 12 in the afternoon? Are you gonna force them to be there from 8 to 5? What if they teach from 12 to 7?
Can they come in at 11?
Can they come in at 11? How are you going to do that? How are you going to handle that? That's why this model does not work.
No,
And
this
it
is.
goes back to what I was saying before. It's too abstract.
Well, what's weird is corporations are actually moving beyond the corporate model.
Yeah.
in a way that universities, community colleges haven't. Because what a lot of corporations realize is our employees are just as productive, if not more, working from home. So let's let them do that. You know, only come into the office 2 or 3 days a week and work at home for the rest of the time and get a lot of work done. And all the evidence points to the fact that people have been more productive at home. We know that. We've been working from home
Our entire career. Yeah. Now, we were forced to only be at home.
That was
Oh,
horrible.
that was a nightmare.
That was horrible.
I missed my office so bad.
I wanted to go
I
to
missed
work.
the campus.
I missed my colleagues.
Yeah. I missed the kids.
Yeah.
But whatever.
So we've kind of talked about a whole host of
Grateful
problems.
larva.
The last thing, I don't know how much time, where we are in time, but the
We're
last
getting
thing,
towards the end.
the last thing I'll mention, and I mentioned it before we moved to this table, is unilateral decision making.
Yeah.
The business execs are making all the choices and telling everybody else, this is what we're going to do, so do it.
Yeah.
Not saying, what do you think? And even when they ask us what we think, they do what they're going to do anyway.
Well, what we're seeing, they're going to do whatever they want to do. What we're seeing is, and this is not just at our institute, it's everywhere. Department chairs are losing more and more power, and they're transferring that power to the deans and the VPs.
Which deans are going to lose that power eventually.
They're going to eventually lose it to the VPs.
Because I trust the deans at least.
For
You know,
now.
For now, I mean, as long as they're our people.
Yeah. Well, not just at our institution, I'm talking about across the board.
Oh, I know.
Department chairs are losing to the point where they're either a glorified floor super or a glorified scheduler. They're one of the two. But they're not even, they're used to, department chairs had a lot more power and a lot more autonomy. But because of this structure, we're seeing the erosion of trust with the department chair, on the department chair level. They don't trust the department chairs.
No.
Eventually,
Well-
they're not going to trust the deans.
Well, because department chairs are faculty.
Yeah. Well, and eventually they're going to not trust the deans.
The deans are too close to the faculty too. That's the problem. The reason why the deans are on the side of faculty most of the time is they spend a lot of time with faculty and they spend very little time with administration.
Yeah. And this is not a conspiracy. This
No,
is
it's not.
This is just,
This is the model.
this is the model that's worked in.
It's
And-
where it's been going for a while now.
Yeah, and it's going to keep going that way until education completely falls apart.
The term I used today when talking to a friend of ours who works in our office area was consolidation. It is absolutely about consolidation of power, so that very few people have power. And when very few people have power, if they make a bad choice, there's no one there to correct it
Yeah.
and say, slow down. We're not going to do that. Because they're not really consulting anybody. And even when they do, they ignore it. Because they've made up their mind. They want to do a thing, they're going to do a thing. And there are no repercussions for them. There are repercussions for faculty. Significant repercussions for bad choices that administration makes. No repercussions for them. They only take credit for the things that go well.
Right.
The rest is our fault.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't work. Obviously, someone's to blame, but it's not us. The faculty didn't execute it.
Correct.
Yeah, your numbers are going up, but not fast enough. What do you want?
Yeah.
We're improving, and that's not good enough.
Yeah.
We're not improving on their schedule. So this is where we are, and I don't see it. I don't know if it's going to get better. I don't know how it would get better. I don't know what has to happen for it to get better.
Kim Robinson's still
He's right about everything.
18 years later now?
He's my crush, I admit.
Yeah. Well, 18 years later,
Yeah.
he's still right.
Yeah. He saw it coming.
Yeah, it's got to fall. It's going to have to fall apart completely.
We're on our way there.
Yeah. The Band-Aids are not going to hold forever.
No.
Eventually they're going to fall off. I remember last spring, when COVID began, I was so excited because I thought, this is it. This is how education falls apart. And we're going to see, through this pandemic, a completely new understanding of education and a reconstruction.
We had an entire podcast on this.
Oh, we did. And I was such a young, naive.
I think I was very cynical.
You were very cynical.
But I'm always very cynical. Even a broken clock's right twice a day.
There you go. So, I was so excited.
Not so much now.
No, because I see that we're heading right back to where we were before. They're going to, this idea of doing the synchronous, now adding synchronous classes to our repertoire is cool.
Because there are a lot of people who are going to want to do it.
There are people that are going to want to do it, and there are teachers that got really good at it. I was one of them. I'm not doing it, but I was one of the ones that figured it out. Okay, this is how we can do this, and this is really cool, and got success out of it.
It's not hard.
It's not. But if that's all we get out of this, I'll be highly disappointed.
I think you're going to be highly disappointed.
I think so too.
I
had such high hopes.
I wanted you to be right so badly.
I thought COVID was the answer to a lot of the problems we have seen over the past 20 years. And unfortunately, the administration got in the way.
Well, and they're all doing it.
What was it? How did Thoreau put it in Civil Disobedience?
The beginning of the...
They keep getting in their own way.
Yes. Yes.
And that is why progress is slow.
Yes.
And I think that is the same thing with any kind of educational administration, whether you're talking about the local elementary school or you're talking about the local university. We didn't even talk about the problems that the purple giant down here presents.
No. That's all business.
Yeah. That's not even education.
No.
That's an experience.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah. And that's the ultimate corporatization of education. But when you're talking about, you see this from elementary school all the way up to the universities. They're so bent on proving and justifying. Okay, so why are they so hard up for justifying their existence? Because the legislatures are forcing them to. So this is not. So when we talk about the big bad monster of the administration, we also have to remember they're being put under pressure by the legislatures.
Well, and what we haven't done is said that there are well-meaning administrators who are really trying to make things better. They're trying so hard. But it's not one administrator, it's an entire system.
Yeah.
The system is broken, and the system is bigger than any one person. Mm-hmm. And these individual people who want to make things better don't know how to fix it because it's too big.
Yeah.
It's out of control.
Yeah.
And how does one person come in and say, we're going to change everything radically? You can't. That's a part of the problem. Mm-hmm. It's too big now. Mm-hmm. And one person with a dream can't make it better.
No.
You need to end on something happy.
I am.
Thank you.
I'm pulling that up now. Yes. Something happy.
Puppies. Clouds.
Puppies. Clouds.
Candy.
Or pop song lyrics.
Oh, Lord. Maybe not that happy.
Jason, I've been playing out a lot of hypotheticals in my mind. I've been writing your name down next to mine. Been imagining all the things you and I could do. I've seen all the possibilities in my dreams. You're alone when you should be living next to me.
Is that a song for the administration?
That's a song for you, buddy. That's my earworm for the week.
Which song is it?
It's called Hypotheticals by Lake Street Dive. It's a great song.
Rock group? Pop group?
Pop rock. You actually heard it on the way up here.
Oh, that.
Yeah. So.
I also heard a lot of text mixed in with it, so I didn't get really a chance to hear it all.
Yeah. Would you like to respond? Yes!
Text so and so.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure. What's the message? Okay, I've got, I fucking hate my life. Want to send it?
I'm thinking about cutting myself. You said.
There you go. There's the happy. I'm the barber. This is Dr. J. Peace.
Now it's time for Dr. J.